my heading out or my departure is actually, as you may have seen, is something that came sudden, and so was not, not given a lot of opportunity to plan my departure. But I did want to take a little bit of time to interact with you. Many of you I've had a chance to get to know and become friends with over the last 3 years, and it's been a wonderful connection with you all. I think it's been a very positive professional connection. Obviously, you've asked hard questions and you've pushed for more information, which you're supposed to do, which is great. But I also feel like it's been done in a very professional, very courteous way. And so for me, I think the relationship has been really very positive, and it's been important. Obviously, press plays a huge role in any democracy. Your role is really key as the fourth estate. I was fortunate in being here in the run-up to the recent national elections here in 2024, and again, was very impressed with just how vibrant, how active, how important I think the press in Mauritius has been. And so I want to take a little bit of time while I was here to really, one, thank you for your support, thank you for your professionalism, thank you for everything that you do in your role as the press, and also just to sort of express my appreciation and opportunity to be here more broadly to the Mauritian people. As the U.S. representative to Mauritius, I have to say this is really the highlight of my professional and personal life. It's been a wonderful experience and privilege for me, my wife Kathleen, and my son Thomas, who's visited on and off during my time here and is with us now over the holidays. We've had just a really wonderful experience, and I thought it really important to take a little bit of time before I leave, and I'm leaving in just over a week, to really express that appreciation to the press and to the people here in Mauritius. From the time I arrived back in February of 2023, so I'm coming up essentially to my 3-year mark, it's been just an incredibly warm reception. People have been just very open, very kind, very generous. I've really tried to make an effort to get out and see more of Mauritius. It sounds strange. You think, well, how big is Mauritius? But with this job, you get stuck in the office a lot. I get stuck in a lot of meetings and conferences, and you get to see. I've become very intimate and familiar with the reception space and the conference rooms in the Meridian, the ITC, and many other hotels here. So it's very easy to get locked into that official role and presence here. But I've tried to get out. We've done a number of different programs out in the community. I've been to Rodrigue Island a number of times and just had a wonderful time. And again, uniformly, people have just been incredibly welcoming, very open, wanting to see how they can engage with us, and really requesting more interaction with the United States and making that connection with the United States. So that has been really a wonderful part of my coming here. The other thing I would say is I've been really fortunate coming at a very important time in the relationship. One, when the relationship I think is really growing closer together. When I first arrived, we had an opportunity to have our Deputy Secretary, Richard Burma, come, and we did the groundbreaking. I think you remember the groundbreaking of our new embassy compound. It's been an ongoing project, as everybody has seen. We just recently had last month the topping out ceremony where we completed the structure of our chancery. And many people say, well, when's it going to be done? And I wish it was done yesterday, but it's a big project, so it takes time. But I was here at the inception of that and got to be here for the groundbreaking. And to me, that was really exciting because it was a chance really to launch a project and a platform that will last us into the next century. So I feel like I was able to contribute in a very, no pun intended, or I guess intended, in a concrete way to the relationship and being able to kick that off. In addition, after we did the groundbreaking here, we went to Seychelles, and I was there for the opening of our new embassy, the reopening of our embassy in Seychelles after almost 30 years, and have been working very intently on building that facility out as well. And we have a project to build a new embassy office space and a commercial space there as well. And so that was something that really started, I think, the relationship, or my experience here, very positively, and something I felt like I had accomplished in my time here. The other thing I think was very fortunate for me was that we saw a successful engagement between the United Kingdom and Mauritius on the Chagos Islands, and the signing of the agreement, and now it's obviously going through the process in the UK. But I think that was really important to sort of lay a baseline and a foundation for future cooperation with Mauritius on areas of maritime security cooperation, and we've been doing that. And we're very excited that we'll have a senior level visit coming out in February, led by our Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary in the Department of State for Political Military Affairs, a gentleman named Stanley Brown. So he's the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary who's going to be coming out leading a team to start a discussion about how we can build and enhance our security cooperation. And that's part of the effort to build out that connection following this agreement, or following the signing agreement on the Chagos Islands. And so, again, having that opportunity, that window open, being able to do more. And we're going to see where we can try to support in more ways that relationship. And this engagement, this visit in February will be really important. It'll also come just following the Cutlass Express exercise, which every year since I've been here has grown in scale, has grown in importance, and has been even more, I think, helpful and more significant for training and building capacities here. But also working very closely with the regional organizations like the RCOs here, the Regional Coordination Operations Center, and the Indian Ocean Commission. So building that connection through the security cooperation that we've been doing over the last 3 years, I think has been really important for me, and it's been something I feel very proud about that we've been able to do. The other thing that I was really focused on is on the law enforcement cooperation and good governance. Mauritius, and I would also say Seychelles, always ranked near the top for good governance and transparency in this region, and I think justifiably so. Even just as in the United States, when you talk about complexity of sort of international crime, financial crime, these issues are very complex and they are global. So we have seen a nexus between crimes occurring in the U.S. and, say, a connection here in Mauritius. So we've been very focused on how can we help in building the investigative skills and capabilities of law enforcement here. And for an extended period, almost 2 years, we had an FBI officer, Leah Tanner, who was here working with the FCC, police, and the DPP on investigations. And they were looking at cases, one, they were doing training and skills development, looking at cases that were very real cases with connections to the United States. And the most recent example of this is the Rabatamanga case, where Mami Rabatamanga was involved in a case that was lodged in a court in Miami in smuggling 5 777 Boeing aircraft to Iran and evading sanctions. And so, we had an FBI team come out a month ago and help with the investigations of Rabatamanga. And we're able to get good information, and that will go back and help to inform the case that's ongoing in Miami. So that's an example of very tangible of where I feel one of the efforts I was very focused on has had results. In addition, the collaboration law enforcement's been outstanding. We did have the extradition of an individual earlier in 2025 who was implicated in the murder of an individual in New York City, and that extradition happened last year. And apologies, I just had a senior moment and just blanked on the name. But that level of cooperation in which an individual is extradited to stand trial for a murder case in New York City, again, a huge milestone in the cooperation on law enforcement that we've seen over the last 3 years. And again, really appreciate the collaboration, support, and understanding of local law enforcement. And we've tried to work in so many different ways. We also provide a lot of resources to the UNODC, the UN Office for Drugs and Crime, and they have been doing training on programs like training for prosecution of piracy, support to the DPP's office. They will be providing a case management system that the U.S. government has funded that will help the DPP in its prosecutions, tracking its cases. So that's another area within that sort of broader law enforcement support that we've been looking at. The other thing that was very important for me, I think, is economic and trade, because at the end of the day, what most impacts people is that sense of economic prosperity. Everybody things resonate when it comes to the bottom line, when it comes to people's livelihoods, their jobs, the opportunities economically. And so for me, I feel like that was an area that I really wanted to focus on, but it was legitimately a challenge. And it was a challenge because, one, the distance. There has not been as much trade between U.S. and Mauritius as I think is possible. We could have more. And the distance and the perception that Mauritius is a small market. But what I think Mauritius has is the fact that it's really a gateway and a platform for doing business in a huge market, which is India, and has successfully played that role in relationship to India. And you are seeing growing awareness within the American business community that Mauritius has the capacity to be that platform. It has an educated workforce, it has good infrastructure, it has good connectivity, it has good rule of law, it has a lot of elements that you would want as a business in order to do business in the region. And so we did see what we could try to do as a team to try to highlight this. And so in 2024, we did have a business summit where we worked with a number of U.S. government agencies, Foreign Commercial Services, U.S. Trade Development Agency, USAID, Prosper Africa, Power Africa, and a number of other U.S. agencies, plus U.S. businesses, representatives from regional chambers of commerce, and had them come out here in 2024 for a conference with about 300 participants, which was great. And it really was the first, I think, time in a long time when we could sort of show the potential here for U.S. businesses in Mauritius. That resulted in a follow-on visit in the October of 2024 by Prosper Africa, and we were seeing a lot of momentum. And then in the following year, 2025, was really excited when we saw that the Corporate Council in Africa was really interested in seeing what they could do here. And again, very much appreciate the leadership of Prime Minister Ramgoolam in offering Mauritius to be the host for this year. I keep wanting to say next year. It's hard to believe we're already in 2026, but in the 2026 U.S. Africa Business Summit. And the CCA, Corporate Council on Africa, has done this for many years. And they anticipate, they had a conference in 2025 in Rwanda, and they had about 2,500 to 2,800 participants. They anticipate they'll have upwards of 3,000 participants here, just because Mauritius is such an attractive place to come. It's during a period of time where people may want to come on vacation and spend a bit of time either before or after, and so it will likely be an important draw. Plus, anywhere from 10 to 15 African leaders and senior U.S. government officials will come out in July. So I think that's going to be a huge, huge event, and I think, again, a real capstone to this effort over the last 3 years of promoting the economic commercial relationship between our two countries. And then the third key connection with the U.S., I think that there's a realization that at the end of the day, there's just a lot of shared interests and a lot of opportunities. The U.S. is a place in which it's just such a diverse place, and it has so many different communities, so many different experiences, and lots of information, knowledge, expertise. And for all our challenges or possible imperfections, I realize no country is perfect, but I think the U.S. brings a lot to the table, and there's a lot of things that people connect with. I talk to people all the time who have had an opportunity to travel to the U.S., study in the U.S., work with U.S. or Americans. There's always such an interest, desire to do more. I know people are going to say, could we get more engagement with U.S. educational institutions? We've had Stanford University working with NCCI's business school, and they've been doing programs out there on executive training. People have asked me more of that kind of program can be done. We have expert scientists at the University of Mauritius making connections with MIT in developing new, what we call, new molecules for development of vaccines or medicines, and they're trying to develop that connection and want to do more, and always asking what more could be done. Business people say we really want to make a connection with U.S. businesses. There's opportunities in markets here that would really help. The financial services sector here is one that's really growing of importance globally. We're seeing a lot of interest in biopharma, and so there's opportunities for biopharma research. So there's a number of different sectors where there's potential, and Mauritius is saying, hey, we'd love to have that connection. When it comes to security, I think many Mauritian officials here recognize the technology that the U.S. has, whether it's with drones and AI and other technology and resources, can really help in making Mauritius's EEZ's maritime domain more secure. Mauritius has a huge EEZ, and it's growing with the addition of the Chagos Islands, and it's really looking for help in seeing how that can be managed. And then, just a lot of different interests in American culture and music. We've had the Navy band that's been here before. We're looking forward to having come out in February. And whenever they perform, people are so excited about the music. They find it just exciting and interesting music. Whether it's rock or jazz or country music, it always generates a very positive response. I know when we do our 4th of July, we typically do with the Mauritius Police Force Band, and they're amazing. And they love to sing with some of the people that we bring out from the United States, and their repertoire is incredible here, and so that enthusiasm for American music and culture is great. So there's just all this desire, and I think that in some ways I joke, I sometimes feel like I am more the, although you have a very good ambassador, I sometimes feel like I'm more like the ambassador of Mauritius to the United States than the U.S. ambassador to Mauritius, because it's always about trying to encourage more focus and intention from the United States on Mauritius, trying to bring that connections, because the desire and the interest is very much there. So that's the one takeaway I have, is that from the U.S. side, we can certainly do more to elevate the awareness of Mauritius and the interest in being, connected and partner and friends between the United States and Mauritius. Sorry if I went on. That's the one thing that, I always have to make the case, we got to do more in Mauritius. And going back to Washington, to offices, to businesses, to many different organizations, saying, look, just if you come out here, there will be opportunities, whether it's in education, whether it's in art and culture, whether it's in business. There's just a lot to do in Mauritius.